Hi guys, I'm Gintare and today I'll show you how to make a responsive website. A responsive website is a site that will adjust to the user's screen and device. This means that the website responds to any screen resolution and orientation where the content is being viewed on. There will be no distortion. The site content will remain the same, but the layout will be arranged differently to fit each screen. For example, let's take a look at the Hostinger Tutorials website. If you view the website from a desktop, the search button will be located right next to the search field. But if you access it from your phone, you'll see that the layout changes. The search button is now under the search field, creating a more intuitive flow for visitors using smaller screens. A responsive website is different from an adaptive website. With a responsive website, you just need one version of the website, as it will automatically adjust to any device. Meanwhile, adaptive websites refer to multiple versions of a website that are specifically tailored for each device group. With adaptive websites, you probably will have at least two website versions, the desktop and the mobile version. Now, why is it important to have a responsive website? First, it improves the user experience. Users want a seamless and consistent experience across channels. And when they're checking out your website, you want to give them the best experience possible, right? Sometimes people begin their customer journey on mobile, then continue to bigger devices like laptops. By providing a responsive website, you'll ensure a consistent experience and easy navigation. There will be no need to zoom in or scroll far to view your content comfortably. This will also help increase your reach to mobile users. Having a responsive website also improves your site's SEO. As Google aims to provide valuable and accessible content to its users, it applies a mobile-first approach, meaning that on the results page, its algorithm favors websites that are optimized for mobile devices. Plus, having a responsive website helps increase Google's crawling efficiency. On a responsive site, bots will only need to crawl one version of a web page. On a non-responsive site, multiple Google bots would need to crawl it to retrieve all versions of your web pages. This may also cause issues with duplicate content, as the bots cannot tell which version should be indexed or tracked for link metrics. With only one version of the website to handle, you'll have a simpler development and maintenance process. You don't have to do all updates, improvements, and maintenance tasks for both the desktop and mobile websites. This will save you a significant amount of time and money. Moreover, a responsive site helps drive more conversions. More and more people prefer to shop online via mobile devices, so it's a great idea to have a site that is easy to navigate and interact with on smaller screens. And last but not least, it can provide you with better analytics. It's more difficult to gain insights from two different versions of the same website. So with only one website to track, you'll get more meaningful data. There are three elements that you should look at to make your site responsive. First, you should take care of your layout, then your images and videos, and finally your texts. Let's go through each of them. I recommend that you start developing and designing for mobile first. Then scale up the design for desktops. But if your target audience is most likely to access the site via desktop, you can start from desktop version and then scale down for mobile. To automatically adjust your website layout for different screen sizes, add viewport meta tags to your page's HTML code and media queries to your CSS file. The viewport is the area of the window where you can display content. Meanwhile, the viewport meta tag tells browsers to fit your web page's width to the particular screen size that visitors use to access the site. So you will need to insert the following code snippet in the head section of your site's HTML page. This code snippet will tell the browser to render the width of the web page to fit the exact width of the screen size. So let's say a device's screen width is 720 pixels. Then the web page width will also be 720 pixels. Next, let's move to the CSS media queries. A media query is a way to tell the browser to display the content in a specific way on a particular screen size. A media query is not a one-size-fits-all solution, as every website has different needs. So you'll need to adapt the code to fit your site. But here's an example of a media query in a CSS file. On screens that are 640 pixels wide or less, use 2 columns instead of 4 columns. This syntax will only apply to screens that are 640 pixels wide or less, changing the column arrangement for a better fit. Make sure to configure your media queries for all screen sizes, not just the most popular types. Use visual test tools like cross-browser testing to test your site on more than 2,000 browsers and mobile devices. It's time to move to another important aspect of a website, its media files, which include images and videos. In a responsive website, images will never appear larger than on the page section intended for them, or in other words, they will never appear larger than their container. To apply this function on your site, insert this code snippet to your CSS style sheet. You can also tell the browser to display different images, depending on the width of the device. Use this syntax to do so. By applying this, your site will display the small logo on a screen up to 760 pixels wide. Then the site will display the medium logo on a screen up to 900 pixels, and so on. When it comes to videos, as most sites embed videos from YouTube or Vimeo, use this HTML syntax to make the embedded videos elastic. And here's for the CSS style sheet. The fonts that are used on your site should also be responsive. When you're setting the size of any element in CSS, you have 2 options: absolute or relative units. Absolute units, like pixels, centimeters, or millimeters, are fixed. On the other hand, relative units like EM and REM are relative to other elements, such as a parent or an HTML element. Relative units are scalable, so that's what we're going to use to create a responsive website. REM and EM work similarly, but the unit that I recommend using is REM, which stands for root EM. Let's look into both to understand why REM works better for creating responsive websites. When used on font size property, EM is relative to the font size of its parent element. So if the size of the parent element changes, the size of the child element will automatically change. Let's look at an example. This is the HTML document, and here's the style sheet. If the code doesn't specify the font size, the default browser font size will be used, which is 16 pixels. By putting 1.25 EM there, you may expect the font size to render at 20 pixels, since 1.25 times 16 equals 20. But the parent font size is 1.5 EM. This creates a compounding effect, where the font size will actually render at 30 pixels. That's because it is set by multiplying the default browser font size by the parent's and the element's font size. And it doesn't stop there. If the div element is inside a body element that also uses EM to specify its font size, the equation grows. Let's say its size is 2 EM. The equation will become 16 times 1.25 times 1.5 times 2. If you use EM, you should be aware of the snowball effect, where the end result might be much different than what you intended it to be. On the other hand, if you use REM, the resulting value is only relative to the font size of the HTML element. Check this example. The first part is for resetting the HTML font size. Then the next part specifies the font size. If you want the font size to be 12 pixels, you should put 0.75 REM there. Remember that the browser's default font size is 16 pixels, so the equation is 16 times 0.75, which equals 12. For creating a responsive website, set up breakpoints in the CSS media queries. Breakpoints are points that you add to the code to determine when the design needs to be adjusted according to the screen size. It enables visitors to see the most appropriate layout of your website. This element is defined by a minimum width, minimum height, and maximum height. When talking about responsive text, breakpoints will trigger font size changes such as this. Now, the font size will be adjusted based on the screen width. In this example, if the screen is 640 pixels maximum, the font size of your body text will be 1 rem or 16 pixels. And if the screen is 641 pixels or bigger, the font size will be 1.5 rem or 24 pixels. One challenging task when using rem is that you need to calculate the resulting font size using 16 pixels as the base font size. To make it easier, there's a trick called 62.5% that many developers use. The trick is very helpful and I recommend using it. 62.5% of 16 pixels is 10 pixels. You can write the result in a CSS comment for easier reference. Now you can start counting based on multiples of 10. For example, if you want the body text to be 14 pixels, then write 1.4 rem in the syntax. If you want the heading 1 to be 24 pixels, then write 2.4 rem. Much easier, right? Now that we covered the basic elements, layout, media files, and text, I'll share some extra tips for making a responsive website. When you're developing and designing a responsive website, we recommend to think in relative sizes and proportions instead of a fixed layout. For early layouting, you can use wireframes, which is a method for creating a layout structure in a low-fidelity manner. The point of using wireframes is to create a quick, simple layout sketch of the envisioned responsive website. Your wireframes don't have to be visually perfect, as they give you a chance to experiment. At this stage, focus more on the information architecture and the site's functionality rather than the visual aesthetics. Also, provide wireframes for mobile phones, tablets, and desktops to make sure the site design will scale well across all these devices. I recommend keeping the number of breakpoints as low as possible. Aim for around 3 breakpoints for optimal device flexibility, as designers would still have to adjust the site's content to match the breakpoints. Note that the determining factor for breakpoints is the site content, not device types. It should be the content that determines the way the layout adjusts to the container. It's important to maintain a content-first way of thinking, since it helps you decide what to show and what to hide at a particular breakpoint. It also helps create a better visual hierarchy, what content and messages should be viewed first, second, and so on. When creating a responsive website, keep in mind that people use a touchscreen on smaller screens. This means that your content and interactive elements must be optimized for comfortable interaction with one hand, mainly with the index finger or thumb. For example, CTE buttons should be large enough to be tapped with your thumb. Then, putting in the middle of the screen makes it easier to reach than if you put it in the screen's upper corner. Also, don't forget to give enough space between links and buttons so that your visitors won't accidentally tap the wrong element. A grid is a two-dimensional framework that consists of rows and columns. It allows you to precisely put user interface elements on the web page, helping to avoid element overlap in different screen sizes. By using grids, your content and design can fit any viewport perfectly. To create a better layout for visitors, you'll just have to change the spacing and the number of columns and rows in a grid. With fluid grids, the columns and rows will automatically adjust to the available screen space. It enables you to maintain a consistent look and experience across various devices. Instead of pixel values, use proportions to define the size of grid items and make sure they adapt properly to each device. And that's it! Now you know that in order to make a responsive site, you have to add viewport meta tags to your HTML file, apply media queries to your layout, make your images and embedded videos responsive, and make sure your font sizes can be easily readable on any device. The steps that you just learned are applicable to both new and existing websites, so they will help you anytime in your website development journey. Leave a comment below to let us know about your experience in creating a responsive website, or if you have any questions related to it. And if you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful videos about website development. See ya!